A man was running. His heart was beating fast. His goats were not sleeping. It was midnight, but his goats were jumping and dancing under the trees. The man was afraid. Were his goats sick? Were they cursed? To be cursed means to be under a bad magic spell. He did not know that this strange night, this one confusing night, would change the world forever. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to English Flow. I am so glad you are here. Today, we are going to travel far back in time. We are going to a quiet mountain in Africa, hundreds of years ago. We are going to discover how one small red fruit became one of the most powerful drinks in the world. This is the story of coffee. If this is your first time here, welcome. English Flow is your calm place to learn English through real stories. If you enjoy this journey, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you are listening from. Now, let us go back, very far back. Long ago, in a land called Ethiopia, there lived a young goat herder. His name was Kaldi. A goat herder is a person who takes care of goats. Kaldi's job was simple. Every day, he walked his goats up the mountain. Every night, he walked them back down. But one night, something strange happened. Kaldi's goats did not want to sleep. They jumped. They ran in circles. They made noise. Kaldi had never seen this before. He watched them closely, and then he saw it. His goats were eating small red berries from a green bush. A berry is a small round fruit. Kaldi was curious. He picked some of the berries himself. He tasted them. Slowly, he began to feel it too. His mind felt clear. His body felt light. He felt awake, more awake than he had ever felt before. Kaldi ran to tell the monks who lived nearby. A monk is a religious man who lives a quiet life, often praying. The monks listened to his strange story. At first, they were not sure, but one monk decided to try the berries. He boiled them in water and drank the liquid. That night, for the first time in a long time, he did not feel tired during his long hours of prayer. He felt alert. Alert means awake and able to think clearly. Word spread from monk to monk, from village to village. This small red berry, this simple discovery in the mountains of Ethiopia, was coffee, and it was about to begin a very long journey. From Ethiopia, coffee crossed a narrow sea into a land called Yemen. In Yemen, something important happened. People stopped just chewing the raw berries. They learned to roast the seeds inside the berries. To roast means to heat food slowly until it turns brown and gets a stronger flavor. Then they would grind the roasted seeds into powder. To grind means to crush something hard into very small pieces, almost like sand. They mixed that powder with hot water. This is very close to the coffee we drink today. In Yemen, coffee found a special home. It was called kawa, which means the wine of Islam. Alcohol was forbidden in Islamic culture. Forbidden means not allowed by religion or law. So coffee became a popular drink instead. It kept people awake for prayer. It kept people awake for study. It kept people awake for conversation. Soon, small houses appeared where people gathered just to drink coffee together. These were called coffee houses. Inside these houses, people talked, they played music, they discussed ideas. Rich men and poor men, scholars and travelers all sat together over one simple drink. A scholar is a person who studies and knows a lot about a subject.
But not everyone was happy about this. Some religious leaders worried. They said coffee houses made people too talkative, too bold, too willing to question authority. Authority means the people in power, like kings or leaders. In the city of Mecca, coffee was banned for a short time. Banned means forbidden by law. But the ban did not last long. People loved coffee too much. And once people love something, it is very hard to take it away. Coffee had survived its first challenge, but its journey was only beginning. By the 1600s, coffee reached Europe through trade ships and travelers. Italian merchants brought it to Venice first. A merchant is a person who buys and sells goods, especially by trading with other countries. And in Europe, coffee caused something unexpected: fear. Many Christian priests in Europe did not trust this dark, strange, bitter drink from the Muslim world. Bitter means having a sharp, unpleasant taste, not sweet. Some priests called coffee the drink of the devil. They asked the Pope, the leader of the Catholic Church, to ban it completely. But then, something surprising happened. The Pope at that time, Pope Clement VIII, decided to taste coffee for himself before making a decision. He drank it slowly. And according to the old story, he loved it so much that he said, "This drink is so delicious. It would be a shame to let only the infidels drink it. We should baptize it and make it a true Christian drink." Infidels was an old word Europeans used for people of a different religion. Baptize means to bless something and welcome it into the Christian faith. With those words, coffee was saved, and it spread across Europe faster than anyone expected. Coffee houses began opening in London, in Paris, in Vienna. In London alone, by the late 1600s, there were hundreds of coffee houses. People called them penny universities. A penny university was a place where, for the price of one small coffee, a person could sit for hours and learn from the conversations around them. Something remarkable was happening inside these coffee houses. Scientists met there to share new discoveries. Writers met there to read their newest work aloud. Merchants met there to plan new business deals. In fact, some of the world's most famous companies began inside a coffee house. There was a company that insured ships. To insure something means to pay money regularly so that if it is lost or damaged, you receive money back. This company, called Lloyd's of London, started as conversations between ship owners meeting over coffee. Coffee was no longer just a drink. It was becoming a place where ideas were born. Kings and queens noticed this too, and it worried them. In coffee houses, ordinary people discussed politics. They criticized their leaders. To criticize means to say that someone or something is wrong or bad. They shared dangerous new ideas about freedom and equality. In 1675, the King of England, Charles II, tried to shut down every coffee house in the country. He was afraid that these gatherings would create rebellion against him. Rebellion means people fighting against their government or ruler. But the public anger was so strong that the king had to cancel his order within days. The coffee houses stayed open, and the ideas kept flowing. Some historians even say that coffee houses helped create the ideas behind the French Revolution, a time when the people of France rose up against their king. Coffee had quietly become one of the most powerful forces in the world, not through armies, not through weapons, but through conversation. As Europeans fell in love with coffee, they wanted more of it, much more. But there was a problem. For a long time, only Yemen and the Arab world knew how to grow coffee plants successfully. They protected this secret carefully. They would sell roasted coffee beans, but never a living plant or a fertile seed. Fertile means able to grow into a new plant. European countries wanted to break this control. The Dutch were the first to succeed. Dutch traders managed to obtain a coffee plant. To obtain means to get something, often with effort. They grew it in greenhouses in Amsterdam. A greenhouse is a glass building used to grow plants in a controlled climate. From there, the Dutch planted coffee in their colonies, especially on an island called Java in Indonesia. A colony is a land controlled and ruled by a foreign country, far from that country. Coffee grown in Java became so famous that even today, people sometimes call coffee simply a cup of Java. Then came a story so dramatic, it sounds almost impossible. In 1723, a young French naval officer named Gabriel de Clieu wanted to bring coffee to French colonies in the Caribbean. A naval officer is a leader or soldier who works on Navy ships. He obtained one small coffee plant and carried it onto a ship, sailing across the Atlantic Ocean. The journey was terrible. Pirates attacked the ship, a storm nearly destroyed it, and for weeks there was almost no fresh water on board. De Clieu later wrote that he shared his own small ration of drinking water with the plant, giving it half of what little water he had, just to keep it alive. A ration is a limited, controlled amount given to each person. Somehow, the plant survived. It reached the island of Martinique, and from that single plant, historians believe millions of coffee trees grew across the Caribbean and South America in the following decades. One small plant, one difficult journey, and an entire new coffee empire was born. But we must pause here, my friends, and tell the truth. Real history is honest. It shows us both beauty and pain. As coffee spread across the Americas, the demand for it grew enormous. Demand means how much people want to buy something. Growing coffee required huge farms and enormous amounts of labor. Labor means hard physical work. Colonial powers did not pay fairly for this labor. Instead, they forced enslaved people from Africa to work on coffee plantations across Brazil, the Caribbean, and other parts of the Americas. An enslaved person is someone who is owned by another person and forced to work without pay and without freedom. A plantation is a large farm, often growing one single crop. Brazil eventually became the largest coffee producer in the world, a position it still holds today. But that success was built, in its early history, on the suffering of enslaved workers who had no freedom and no choice. This is one of the darkest chapters in the story of coffee. A simple drink, loved in cafes and palaces, was connected to some of the greatest injustice in human history. Injustice means unfair treatment of people, especially when their rights are ignored. We must remember this, because history is never only sweet. It is bitter too, just like the coffee itself, before we add sugar. By the 1800s and 1900s, coffee had become part of daily life on nearly every continent. New machines changed how coffee was made. In Italy, inventors created machines that pushed hot water through coffee quickly, under pressure. This invention gave the world espresso, a small, strong, concentrated coffee. Concentrated means very strong, with little water added. In the United States, coffee became connected to daily routines, to mornings, to workplaces, to family kitchens. A routine is something you do regularly, in the same way, almost every day. Companies grew enormous by selling coffee beans, then instant coffee.
Instant coffee is a type of coffee powder that dissolves quickly in hot water, with no need to brew it slowly. Then came coffee shops on every corner. Today, coffee is the second most traded product in the world, after oil. More than 2 billion cups of coffee are consumed every single day, all around the world. Consumed means eaten or drunk. From one confused goat herder on a quiet mountain to billions of people every morning reaching for a warm cup, coffee's journey has been long, strange, and remarkable.
And so, my friends, we come to the end of our journey today. We traveled from the mountains of Ethiopia to the coffee houses of Yemen to the palaces of Europe, across a stormy ocean to the Caribbean, and finally into kitchens and cafes all around the world. Coffee's story teaches us something important, a small discovery. Something as simple as a red berry eaten by curious goats can grow into something that changes how the entire world lives, talks, and thinks. But coffee's story also teaches us to look closely at what we love, because behind every simple pleasure, there is often a bigger story, one of struggle, one of injustice, one that deserves to be remembered honestly. And for you, my friend, listening right now, learning English one story at a time, remember this. Just like coffee's long journey across oceans and centuries, your own journey with English is slow, and it is real, and it is worth it. Every story you finish is one more step forward. If today's story stayed with you, please leave a comment below and tell us, do you drink coffee? And what does your morning cup mean to you?